Welcome to today's deep dive into one of Southern Africa's most misunderstood serpents, the Rinkhals. Whether or not you've heard the name before, you'll likely recognise its display, rearing up, spreading a hood, and spitting venom with pinpoint accuracy. Although often mistaken for a cobra, the Rinkhals are part of their own distinct genus, with a suite of features that set them apart from their more famous cousins. From their keeled scales to their unusual defensive tactics, these snakes are full of surprises. The Rinkhals also offer a fascinating entry point into the world of elapid snakes, a group that includes some of the planet's most venomous reptiles. Where does the strange spitting snake fit within the elapid family? And how does it differ from the true cobras? These are the kinds of questions that help us understand not just one species, but the evolutionary history of snakes as a whole. If you'd like to learn more, check out the document in the description with research papers and image credits. To understand where Rinkhals fit within the evolutionary history of snakes, we need to take a step back and look at the broader snake family tree. We don't have time to explore the entire family tree of snakes, but if you're after a more detailed breakdown of snake evolution, I have an entire video covering that topic, so check it out when you're finished here. Snakes are in the order Squamata, which also includes lizards and amphisbaenians. In fact, snakes sit right in the middle of this group. So if you want to draw a phylogenetically accurate circle around lizards, snakes would be included too. Within this broader order, all snakes belong to the suborder Serpentes, forming their own distinct lineage. There are many lineages of snakes, but most people are only familiar with a handful. Constrictors, like pythons or boas, are well known for killing their prey by wrapping their muscular bodies around them and squeezing until the heart stops. Another major group is the Colubridae, whether or not you've heard the name. This family includes about 2/3 of all known snake species, from common grass snakes to boomslangs to vine snakes. Many colubrids are harmless, but others have evolved mild to medically significant venom. In these species, venom is typically delivered through rear fangs, located further back in the mouth, making it harder to deliver in a single, quick bite. When we start looking at highly venomous snakes, two major families come to mind. The first is Viperidae, the vipers and pit vipers. These snakes are famous for their long, hinged fangs and powerful hemotoxic venom. They include well-known species like rattlesnakes, puff adders, and gaboon vipers. The second is Elapidae, a family of front-fanged venomous snakes with potent neurotoxic venom. This group includes cobras, mambas, coral snakes, kraits, sea snakes, and, of course, the Rinkhals. While vipers tend to be easy to identify, with triangular heads, vertical pupils, and thick bodies, elapids are a little more deceptive. With slender heads that often blend into the neck, round pupils, small fixed fangs, and smooth scales, they can be easily mistaken for harmless colubrids. Elapids are highly diverse, and many species break these generalizations, but as a group, they can be tricky to identify. Let's breeze through the major branches of the elapid family, before zooming into the cobras and their close relatives, including the Rinkhals. The most basal elapids are the Asian coral snakes, beginning with those in the genus Caliophis, followed by Cenomicrurus. These snakes probably aren't what most people imagine when they hear coral snake, as they typically lack the red, yellow, and black banding seen in American species. Still, they're brightly coloured, often with stripes or iridescent hues. Next are the American coral snakes, which do have that classic banded pattern, some combination of red, black, yellow, orange, or white. They'd be instantly recognisable, if not for the many unrelated harmless snakes that mimic their colours. Further down the family tree, we reach the clade that contains cobras, mambas, and their relatives. All elapids are venomous, but this group is especially notorious. Many species are fast-moving, intelligent, and frequently encountered near human settlements. We'll return to the cobras shortly, but let's finish with the remaining lineages of elapids first. The kraits in the genus Bungarus are found in tropical forests across South and Southeastern Asia. They are known for specialising in eating other snakes, including their own kind. Next are the African garter snakes, and despite the name, they're not at all like the harmless North American garter snakes. These ones are fully venomous and widespread across sub-Saharan Africa. Then come the sea kraits, which are semi-aquatic elapids. They have flattened paddle-like tails for swimming, but still return to land to lay eggs and digest food. Finally, we reach the Australasian elapids, a clade that includes all of Australia's venomous snakes, as well as species from New Guinea and nearby islands. It also includes the true sea snakes, which are fully aquatic and not closely related to the sea kraits. Terrestrial members of this clade include taipans, death adders, tiger snakes, and many others. The clade of elapids that includes the cobras has 7 genera. Many of the species in this group have cobra in their name, but only those in the genus Nyanga are considered true cobras. The others are closely related and share many characteristics, but are technically not true cobras. The most basal members of this group are the barred coral snakes, 3 species found only in the Philippines. Despite their name, they are not true coral snakes, however they do share the bold coloration often associated with them. Next are the mambas, 4 species known for their speed, agility, and potent venom. 3 are green and arboreal, while the black mamba is larger, darker, and primarily terrestrial. Their closest relatives are the king cobras, the world's longest venomous snakes, and some of the heaviest. While they're not true cobras, they can still flatten their neck into a hood when threatened, much like members of Nyanga. The next branch in this clade contains 2 additional genera, the black desert cobras, 2 species found in the Middle East, and the shield-nosed cobras, which range across southern Africa. Once again, despite their names, these are not true cobras. They can spread their necks when threatened, but their hoods are far less pronounced than those of Nyanga. Then we reach the true cobras, Nyanga, with around 38 recognised species. This is a large and diverse genus, known for their iconic hood flare and wide distribution across southern and southeastern Asia, as well as parts of Africa. And finally, we have the Rinkhals, which are the closest living relatives of the true cobras. Although not members of Nyanga, they closely resemble them in both appearance and behaviour. Now that we've explored the cobra clade, it's time to focus on their closest relative, the Rinkhals, snakes in the genus Hemachatus. For a long time, this genus was thought to include just one species, the southern Rinkhals, Hemachatus haemachatus, but in 2023, a second species was formally recognised, the Nyanga Rinkhals, Hemachatus nyangensis. The name Rinkhals comes from Afrikaans and means ringneck, referring to the banded throat pattern often seen in the southern Rinkhals. It's worth noting that Rinkhals is both the singular and plural form. English speakers can be confused by the S on the end, but in this case it could refer to either one snake or many. Afrikaans speakers may also like to correct my pronunciation of it, so I apologise in advance. The 2 species of Rinkhals are closely related and share a number of distinctive traits that set them apart from the true cobras in Nyanga. At a glance, Rinkhals strongly resemble cobras. They raise the front part of their body, spread a hood, and, perhaps most famously, spit venom when threatened. Historically, they were lumped in with Nyanga, alongside other so-called spitting cobras. But despite these resemblances, Rinkhals differ in several key ways. Unlike most cobras, which have smooth, glossy scales, Rinkhals have keeled scales, giving them a rougher texture. They are also generally smaller than many Nyanga species, and, at least in the southern Rinkhals, a banded throat pattern is often visible, a feature not only inspiring their Afrikaans name, but also their alternative English name of ring-necked spitting cobra. Another major difference is their reproductive strategy. While most cobras lay eggs, the Rinkhals are ovoviviparous, giving birth to live young, sometimes dozens at a time. Even their spitting mechanism is an independent evolutionary development, distinct in fang structure and muscular control from the true spitting cobras in Nyanga. This makes Rinkhals a textbook case of convergent evolution, where similar traits arise in unrelated groups due to shared environmental pressures. Unlike most other elapids, Rinkhals are more cold tolerant and can be found in montane grasslands and cooler climates. They've even been observed entering torpor during winter, a hibernation-like state that has rare behaviour among elapids. All of these differences, from scalation and reproductive mode to venom mechanics and ecological tolerance, help explain why Rinkhals are placed in their own genus, Hemachatus, separate from the true cobras. Spitting is perhaps the most iconic trait associated with Rinkhals. and one of the main reasons they're often mistaken for true spitting cobras. But while they share this dramatic defensive behaviour, the mechanism behind it evolved independently, with both lineages adapting to deter large mammalian predators. All elapids, including both cobras and Rinkhals, have relatively short, fixed fangs located at the front of the upper jaw, but the anatomy of these fangs differs in subtle yet important ways. In Rinkhals, the fangs have small, forward-facing holes near their tips. When threatened, the snake rapidly contracts specialised muscles around its venom glands. This creates enough pressure to force venom through the fangs and out the forward-facing hole, producing a fine spray. The fang itself is slightly flattened and grooved internally, helping direct the venom straight ahead. In contrast, spitting has evolved at least 3 times within Nyanga. The fangs of true spitting cobras are not the same as those of Rinkhals. The opening is located in a different position, and the internal structure and angle of the fang are also distinct. These may seem like minor changes, but they point to a separate evolutionary origin for spitting behaviour within several lineages of elapids. While the mechanism differs, the function remains the same. In both groups, the goal is to target the eyes of the threat. The venom causes immediate pain, inflammation, and in some cases, permanent damage, including blindness. Spitting is almost always a defensive behaviour, and is typically accompanied by a dramatic threat display. The snake rears up, spreads its hood, hisses loudly, and delivers repeated jets of venom with impressive accuracy, sometimes reaching up to 2 or 3 meters. Interestingly, Rinkhals have an additional trick not seen in Nyanga: playing dead. In response to a threat, they may go limp, roll onto their backs, open their mouths, and let their tongues hang out. This kind of bluffing is extremely rare among elapids, and shows just how flexible Rinkhals' defensive strategies can be. In terms of composition, Rinkhals' venom contains a mix of cytotoxins and neurotoxins. The cytotoxins are responsible for the intense local pain, swelling, and tissue damage, while the neurotoxins can disrupt nerve signals and lead to paralysis in severe cases. However, Rinkhals' venom is generally considered less lethal than that of many Nyanga species, and bites are rarely fatal with prompt medical treatment. Still, they shouldn't be underestimated. Rinkhals can deliver multiple shots in rapid succession, and their venom can reach considerable distances with remarkable precision. For anyone working or living in their range, eye protection and caution are essential during encounters. The better known of the 2 Rinkhals species is Hemachatus, the southern Rinkhals. It's a relatively small elapid, averaging around 90 centimeters in length, though some individuals can exceed 1.2 meters, roughly 3 to 4 feet. Its appearance is variable, but it typically has dark, olive or brown dorsal colouring, sometimes with pale banding. The ventral side often shows a distinctive ringed or banded pattern on the neck, the origin of both its Afrikaans and English names. This species is widely distributed across southern Africa, including parts of South Africa, Eswatini and Lesotho. It typically inhabits grasslands and savannas, and is more cold tolerant than most other elapids. It can be found at elevations above 2,000 meters or 6,500 feet, and has even been observed entering torpor during the coldest parts of winter, an extremely rare behaviour amongst venomous snakes. Rinkhals are diurnal, though they may become crepuscular in hotter conditions. Unlike true cobras, they are ovoviviparous, giving birth to live young, sometimes up to 60 in a single litter. This reproductive strategy may give the young a survival advantage in cooler or less stable climates, where eggs could be at greater risk. In terms of diet, the southern Rinkhals is a generalist predator. It feeds on frogs, toads, small mammals, birds, lizards, and occasionally other snakes. Amphibians are thought to make up a significant portion of its diet, particularly in wetter habitats. Its strong preference for frogs may help explain its association with grasslands and moist microhabitats, such as the edges of wetlands or drainage ditches. The southern Rinkhals occurs over a large area and is relatively common throughout much of its range, leading to its classification as least concern by the IUCN. It shows a degree of tolerance for human-modified habitats, but some areas are experiencing localized declines, particularly where urbanization or agricultural expansion have led to habitat loss. In fact, the Cape Town subpopulation is presumed extinct. Wetland drainage is another potential threat, given the snake's reliance on amphibians. While the overall population decline appears to be relatively minor, long-term survival will depend on continued habitat protection and monitoring. Described in 2023, the Nyanga Rinkhals, Hemachatus nyangensis, is the second known species of Rinkhals, and one of the most elusive snakes in the world. It is known only from the Chiranda forest and Nyanga highlands of eastern Zimbabwe, a cool, misty region of montane grassland and evergreen forest. It has never been recorded below 1700 metres, or around 5500 feet, suggesting it is adapted to high altitude environments. For many years, it was considered a geographically isolated population of the southern Rinkhals, but genetic analysis and detailed scale counts have shown that it diverged from the southern Rinkhals between 7 and 14 million years ago, and therefore should be considered a separate species. Even before it was described as its own species, sightings were rare, typically only about one per year. The last confirmed observation of a Nyanga Rinkhals was in 1988, when 3 were seen in a single day. None have been seen since, despite targeted searches. One of the most dedicated efforts took place in 2012, when researchers conducted a week-long expedition to find it. They searched themselves, but also included local outreach, showing colour photographs to residents, but no one recalled seeing the snake in recent years. As you might expect, given the lack of recent sightings, little is known about the Nyanga Rinkhals ecology. Much of what we believe, from its defensive behaviour and venom spitting to reproduction, is inferred from its close relationship with the southern Rinkhals. It is presumed to be ovoviviparous, share similar threat displays, and fill a comparable niche within its montane habitat. So how did researchers in 2023 confirm it as a distinct species if it hasn't been seen in decades? The answer lies in museum collections. Several historical specimens from the region had been preserved in natural history museums, and researchers were able to extract DNA from one of these to conduct modern genetic analysis. Although I'm glad the historical practice of collecting specimens for science and display has fallen out of favour, in this case those preserved individuals proved unexpectedly valuable, allowing researchers to confirm the species' distinct identity many years later. Naturally, this raises the question, is the Nyanga Rinkhals still alive today, or has it slipped into extinction unnoticed? Its known range has experienced some habitat loss due to agriculture and forestry, but a significant portion, around 55%, lies within Nyanga National Park. With much of its habitat protected and relatively undisturbed, there remains a chance the species persists, hidden in remote areas far from human activity. The IUCN last assessed the Nyanga Rinkhals in 2024, listing it as critically endangered, but possibly extinct. Unlike older standards that used a 50-year window without sightings, modern assessments take a more nuanced approach. For example, for the IUCN to declare a species extinct, there must be no reasonable doubt that the last individual has died. A deliberately high bar that varies by species and the extent of any search efforts. This level of uncertainty is not unusual. The ivory-billed woodpecker, for instance, made headlines in 2021 when the US Fish and Wildlife Service declared it extinct. Yet the IUCN continues to list it as critically endangered. But just because a species is declared extinct doesn't necessarily mean it is. The coelacanth was thought to have vanished 65 million years ago, until a living specimen was caught in 1938. And more recently, the Lord Howe stick insect, believed extinct since the 1920s after rats were introduced to its island, was rediscovered in 2001, surviving on a remote volcanic sea stack over 20 kilometres away from its original range. There are many similar examples of animals believed gone forever, only to be dramatically rediscovered years later. The Cuban Selenodon, La Palma giant lizard, or the New Zealand takahe. These events are rare, but they can happen, proving that despite all our technology, nature can still surprise us. Future research and fieldwork will be essential to clarify the Nyanga Rinkhals status, and if living populations are found, urgent conservation action will be needed to preserve one of Africa's rarest snakes. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Rinkhals. From the highlands of Zimbabwe to the grasslands of South Africa, these snakes are more than just cobra lookalikes. They're unique, adaptable survivors with fascinating stories of their own. The two species we've explored, the well-known southern Rinkhals and the elusive Nyanga Rinkhals, reveal just how much diversity and mystery still exists, even among animals that are often overlooked or misunderstood. And when we examine their evolution, behaviour, and the challenges they face, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complex lives of these remarkable reptiles. So, if this video sparked your curiosity, don't let it stop here. Share it, talk about it, and keep learning. There's still so much to learn about the world's rare and remarkable species. And the more we uncover, the better equipped we'll be to protect them before it's too late. Thanks for watching. If there's another fascinating species you'd like to learn more about, let me know in the comments below.